One of the most effective ways you can support your health is by understanding how your body is being influenced by the seasons and how to adjust your body and support your body through the seasons. So, the seasons are one of the practices you can utilize to support the organs and glands of your body. If you know about Chinese medicine, there is the five element cycle. And in these five elements, each organ has their pinnacle of their energy in each season. And so when you understand which organ is active in each season, you have a better opportunity to support your body. So I wanted to bring you this video today because I have an incredible course on seasonal wellness, approaches and practices, the rituals, and the cleansing techniques I use in every season to support my body. Many of you have been asking for this. You've been asking me, what do I do for my health? How do I cleanse my body? What are the ways in which I, keep my mind clear through the seasons? And so this is what this course is. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background of the seasons and how simple this can be to implement into your day to day. And when you don't implement this, right, you will not always feel at your best, because there are certain behaviors that we're meant to do to align with nature. And so all the creatures of nature are doing it. But since we're living in such a modern day world, we often get taken away from these more creature impulses that are very much alive in our bodies. And so in winter, you probably feel it. You want to rest more, right? In summer, you probably want to be out there more. And when we live a very 24-hour clock, such as the Monday to Friday work week, we don't actually have the opportunity to listen to our bodies. And so just by knowing what the seasons are doing and by knowing which organs in your body are having their peak, right, you have the opportunity to actually tap into these seasonal practices, even if you do have a 9 to 5, right? Even if you know that you are living more of the modern day world, but you want to weave in some of these seasonal principles. So in autumn, for instance, it is the organ of the lungs. And so that's why in autumn, it can feel really constricting and contracting. And we tend to get very nostalgic and emotional in autumn because the energy is contracting inwards. And when this happens, right, it kind of starts to feel suffocating. And so when you have practices that work the lungs, it's easier to let go because the lungs are paired with the large intestine. It's easier to let go of the grief and the sadness that accumulates in the lungs so that you can have the space, right, to, have more joy, more ease, more ability to move through these stickier emotions. And so just like we have the organs that wake up in the season, we have the emotions that also show us which organs could be out of balance. And so in the winter, it's the kidneys, right? It's our ancestry. It's the water element of the body. It's really knowing how to rest and restore because your kidneys are your batteries and they only get one charge. And so if you're living a really fast and hard life, right, you're draining your batteries faster. And so you're not going to actually have longevity, right? It's going to eventually get really hard to live in the body. And so the kidneys are about learning how to use your energy wisely, right? Learning when to rest and learning when to go out. And so in winter, the big obedience is really to learn how to turn within and have more restorative practices. And so you're not going to be doing a lot of chair poses and heated yoga practices in winter. It's going to be more practices that are going to allow you to turn into yourself, right? I love forward folds in winter and lots of hip work. And so in springtime, it's the liver. It's this energy that shoots up, whereas winter descends down. And this wood energy that rises up brings through the emotions of anger and rage and frustration, right? They're very juvenile emotions because spring is the most juvenile season, right? Spring of your life, right? In your life cycle is when you were a child. And think of that volatility, right? The element of spring or the atmosphere is wind, right? And so when we're working with, that energy in the body, you really have to learn how to channel that wood energy into creative projects in spring, into having visions in spring because your eyes look out through your liver, right? And I have beautiful eye cleansing practices inside this course, ear cleansing practices for the kidneys, right? We have nose cleansing practices and cleansing of the lungs. And then for the heart, it's the tongue, right? The heart is summer. It's your speech. It's how you communicate with your community. And so the whole heart dialogue is really how you are in relationship to that which is outside of you. The heart is relationship. It is moving emotions through your body, right? Not letting them sit in the hot chamber of your heart because the element is fire. And so when you put too much logs on the fire, what happens? right? It all burns away. And so you really get to learn temperature regulation in summer and how to move those emotions through so that your house doesn't burn down. And then late summer is the spleen. This is your mind, your ability to think, to chew, to ponder, to masticate, to exercise good judgment. It's really the tissues, right, of the body. And so when you learn about these different parts of your body, these different elements of your body, the different ways in which your body is communicating to you from its outer surroundings, right? You have one of the most beneficial keys to your health because as you support the organ that is in its expression through the specific yoga practices, the specific yoga sequences that I have inside of this course, right? You will thrive because as you boost the energy of that organ, this organ feeds the next, right? It's the mother to the next. So the lungs birth the kidneys just like a mother would birth a child. And so there's a rise and fall that's happening with these organs. And it's the same sine wave that's in nature, right? Everything rises and falls. And if you can support and get on with the rise, right? When it births the next organ, it has the energy. And that's what it's really about. It's about knowing how this energy is flowing in your body and adopting these really simple practices that you can do within your modern day circumstances, because that's what we're doing here. We're really looking to balance our modern day circumstances, right? That is what these practices are for. It's so that you have the tools to better balance yourself amidst your life. And so it's not that you run away from life, it's that you learn to be skillful in life. And that's one of the biggest teachings of Taoism. The path, the way is in life. It's in your circumstances. It's how you are as a partner, as a mother, as a father. It's how you are as a friend in the world, right? It's becoming more skillful in that. And so in this course, I have sequences for every single season, right? To support every single organ. And that doesn't just mean that you only do them in the season. There's the seasons of the day. The spring of the day as the sun rises, right? The full ripening of the day is summer, right? It's the fullness of the sun. And then the setting of the day is autumn, right? When the sun goes down. And then the quiet of the night, right? The darkness is winter. And so inside of the course, you'll also get all of my portal cleansing practices. And so the portals to the organs, right, are the five senses. So how do we purify these five senses? There's a lot of purification practices in yoga because when you learn to purify the eyes, for the day ahead, right? What you're really doing is you're cleansing your vision so that you can truly have a prismatic vision, right? The diamond eye in Buddhism is to be able to reflect and refract and to see all of the angles in which you can access because life is angular, right? The vision you're seeing is angular. If you don't like what you're seeing, you just change your lens. And so these are the more esoteric practices that you get to play with inside of this course. And then again, we have the ears, we have the nose, we have the mouth. I have all of the practices that I use to cleanse my organs. And also inside of there are discussions on the five lights of consciousness that enter the body upon birth. And so these five lights of consciousness seed the organs, right? They're the pre-part of the organs. And so we have the liver, we have the lungs, we have the spleen, we have the kidneys, and we have the heart. And these are different aspects of consciousness that we tune into to align our life path. And so in Taoism, there's a line of destiny that you're meant to walk. And some of us veer off track. And so when we can tap into the more esoteric aspects of the organs, not just the scientific parts of the organs, but the mystical and magical parts of the organs, like why your dreams are being influenced by your liver and what they're telling you and how to harness your dreams and have more dream work practices to support your liver. These are practices that you're not going to find anywhere else because these are really the more esoteric, like I said, mystical practices that you can't really find in medical books. But when you can support the spiritual aspect, right? This is the root of all imbalances in Chinese medicine. It's not the physical body. The root is a spiritual root that we're seeing arise as a material manifestation. These are what imbalances are. So when you get to the root, the spiritual root of what you're tuning into within these organs, right? And I go through all of it in every single season of what's the liver, the hun, this aspect of consciousness that holds your dreams and your aspirations, right? That is seeing in the day and that is dreaming in the night. How do you play with that? How do you utilize that? How do you really refine that so that you can really attune your vision to your life path, right? And so I have ones for all of the organs in that. And then also one of my favorite things that I do is essential oils with the season. So specific plants are more beneficial during specific seasons. And so there's also little blends that you can use to create little remedies for yourself. So I have a whole essential oil book on which oils to use in which season that I love to use, and supporting that organ system, like I said, that is active during that season. And then little blends you can make if you have specific issues that are arising. And so one of my favorite things to do is really to just take in nature, right? To go out and see what's going on around me, what plants are active and what parts of the plants are active, and how can I use that to support my own health and well-being. And so all of these are preventative practices, right? There is no cure-all. There's nothing that's going to save you. These are things that you really add to your tool belt so that you know how to support your body and mind, so that you know how to align yourself to the season, even if you're working the 5-day work week. Even if you're not living so seasonally, it allows you to tune into seasonal living in your circumstances. And so you don't need to change too much about your life, right? But you do get to adopt these practices that clear your vision, right? That allow you to tap into your dreams, that allow you to hear more than just what is materially around you, so that you can tap into your super senses, so that you can tap into your super self, because there's that part of you that you all hear that is so powerful, that is speaking to you. And the moment we go against that inner voice of like, I just want to be doing this, there's dissonance in the body. And so it lets you refine, right, that inner voice. So you really start listening and you start stepping in that path of action, of listening to that voice and acting it out and supporting your soul the way it wants to be supported. And so this is like the spiritual season course, right? So many of you know how much I learn about the seasons through living in nature, right? I live off grid in the woods. And many of you have been asking me for a full comprehensive course on this. And so if you love learning about the more esoteric aspects of Taoism, if you want a yoga practice for every single season, if you want to learn about those 5 lights of consciousness and how to really harmonize them in your life so that you can, right, refine your senses and really tune into this life path that you're here to live, this is the course. This is a lifelong course. Like, the seasons will always change. You have seasons in your life. There's seasons in the day when you start to pierce these fractals and see the piece of the whole. You really tap into true knowledge, right? True awareness, because it's something that you can see every day. It's something you can play with every day. And so I'm not teaching you to see the seasons as I see the seasons, because I don't live where you live. I'm teaching you to see the seasons where you live, and to take the recipe of what your circumstances are and to harmonize your being to the nature in which you're living. And that's the most important part, right? And so if you know you want to learn more about this information, if you love Taoism, if you're really into the 5-element cycle and you're into these esoteric and more mystical parts that I bring through in my work, then definitely grab this course. Right when you grab it, you will have access to it lifetime of my app, inside of my app, so that you can come and go as you please. And if it's springtime and you know your mind is all over the place and you're worrying all the time, then you can do that spleen practice, right? You get to learn to harmonize your emotions based on what emotion is out of balance and link that into which organ so you can better balance your life. And so these practices are so that you can live a life of ease. They're so that you can be more graceful in your life. And so it's from taking this like to-do list of life and turning it into a magical, mysterious experience, that everything that is happening is so profound, that it is a mystery, and that it is by the grace of being in a body that you get to have this experience. And so you really start to see life as a gift when you start to take in these practices. You start to position yourself in the center of it and realize that you're the driver, right, of your life. You get to determine where you are headed. And so you're not just doing another course to like get more information, right? You're doing it to transform your life. You're doing it to realize that the more you show up for yourself, the more patient of a person you become, right? When you harmonize the organs inside of your body and your emotions, you have more capacity for the things that are around you. And then suddenly life doesn't feel like it's draining you. That to-do list feels like something exciting to tackle every day. You rise to the challenges of life. And so again, the first real principle of Taoism is learning to live in life well, right? It takes skill to live in life well, because a lot of people do not, right? And so the reason is they don't have the tools. And so if you want to be good at something, you need the tools. You need to practice the tools. You need to repeat the tools, and you'll become proficient in the technique, right? And that's a sign of skill. And that's what you're doing in these practices. You're building skill, right? It is skillful to live in a body that is well adjusted, that is integrated, that chooses to live in joy rather than bitterness. right? And that's not your natural state. It's nobody's natural state, right? A natural state, when we really get into life, it like brings us down, right? It's like everyone's grumpy and people, get annoyed by things outside of them. No, you are not here for that. You are here to be in your center. No matter what happens in your life, you have the power and the capacity and the capability to rise to it. That it doesn't matter what happens, however you perceive it, it is exactly for you. And it's exactly what you need in this moment to become a better version of yourself. So it all starts with your practices. And I'm giving you all of these practices so that you can really tune into the organs, the seasons, so that you can become more empowered and embodied in your circumstances and understand what you are being influenced by and how to really take control back over your health, over your well-being, over your state of mind. So again, if you want to join me, click on the link. I'll add it here and I'll see you inside.